Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Minister of Finance, Deputy Minister of Finance, and High Commissioner. I say High Commissioner. Now, you know, that should not start making you ambitious that I'm about to appoint you as a High Commissioner in London or somewhere. And the DG of Treasury and all key officials here, including the Deputy Commissioners. It's truly a great pleasure to be here and to see exactly what happens here. I was given a demonstration at the bottom, and I thought the Commissioner was just boasting. Showed me a van and said, this van is SARS on wheels. It can go all over. And I don't come from a village, but my parents do. The minister comes from a village. And he would like that van to go to his village when he retires soon. It's a real joy to be here, and I can feel the energy and the warmth, and it's a great place, I think, to work in and to be at. I know a few people who are either relatives or friends or whatever who tell me that we work at SARS and what a wonderful environment it is. It's truly, truly demonstrated by your presence here and by the way that people seem to be very dedicated in what they do, including those that one sees on the screen. So it is a great, great honor and a privilege, really, to be here amongst you, particularly here at the National Command Center, which is the engine room of the South African state. And you are the engine room for a whole number of reasons. South Africa would not exist without you, and that's for sure. What would we do without the work that you do to collect all the taxes, even as you collect taxes from me? So the South African Revenue Service occupies a unique and a critical role in the life of our nation, and in fact in the life of every South African, everyone who walks, moves and sleeps and wakes up in this country. It is at the heart of our efforts to build a capable state. By strengthening compliance, SARS turns collection into capability. It ensures that government has sufficient resources for the delivery of the services that we need to deliver to South Africans, to invest in infrastructure, to better the lives of our people, to be able to pay out those grants that we pay. As I go around the country and meet even old people, I continuously ask them, are you getting your grant? Are you getting your mundende? Are you getting your pension? They all say yes. But you know, they are very, very clever, these old people. They say, Mr. President, can you increase it a little bit more? So your work has an overarching impact. It is overall overarching, and it touches the lives of South Africans. So as you sit in front of your computer, as you are at customs, at the airport or the border, Bridge or Maseru or wherever, Libombo, just know that with your work, you are touching the lives of South Africans. SARS is a creation of our democracy. It is one of those institutions that we are most proud of for a whole host of reasons. And for nearly 30 years, this institution has sustained our democracy. Since SARS was established in 1997, it has collected, as you will easily know, because you are numbers people, 23 trillion in tax revenue that has been used for social and economic development. Let me repeat, it's 23 trillion rand, and it boggles the mind. It just boggles the mind because it's a lot of money, and you have helped to collect it. By harnessing new technologies, employing new methods, and better understanding of taxpayers, and let me say, treating and dealing with taxpayers with understanding, even with compassion and deference, and also helping taxpayers meet their compliance obligations. You have distinguished yourself, and you continue to distinguish yourself as an incredible organization. I think even the banks don't do it as well as you do. You know, when the banks want their money, sometimes you feel like they're coming with hammers and pliers to cut your fingers off. But even as you want your taxes to be paid, you do it methodically and with full understanding. This organization stands as a shining example of a global tax collection best practice. The commissioner, without boasting, of course, was saying, we're even better than the IRS. The IRS, which is famed as being the best and all that, and it has its own shady past, but we're better than the IRS. It is one of the most effective, best run, and trusted state institutions in our country. In just 5 years, public trust in SARS has grown from 48% to 75%. Now, the recent improvements in business and investor confidence are in no small part due to the diligent efforts of what you have done as the South African Revenue Service. The regulatory environment is a key consideration for investors looking to bring their business to our country. They seek certainty in tax policy, and in this regard, the Ministry of Finance, Treasury, has been consistent in ensuring that our tax policy is well calibrated, and you execute that. And they also seek honesty and efficiency in tax administration, which you have demonstrated over and over again. When S&P issued our first sovereign credit rating upgrade in nearly 2 decades last year, amongst the factors that they cited as being of great significance was strong value-added tax and corporate income tax receipts. But the small print to that was the administration of the tax system. SARS was also instrumental in the work of the multidisciplinary team whose efforts saw South Africa exit, as one of the colleagues said earlier, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, the grey listing of our country. We exited due to the work that has been done by SARS as well. Given the heights that SARS has scaled and the position in which it is now in, it is easy to forget the difficult journey that this organization has traversed. You've gone through times of great trial, times of great difficulty. Like a number of other key state institutions, SARS was severely impacted by state capture, with political meddling, mismanagement, and corruption hampering its efficiency. And it was like someone or some people had been given a mandate, go in with a big sledgehammer and just go and destroy SARS. And SARS was this close to being completely beaten to smithereens. And by so doing, our democracy, our democratic gains would have been smashed altogether. I mean, the things that happened here, and you referred to some of those, and you've dealt with them, and you've also had to deal with things like apologies to people. The leadership purges that happened here, where executives and investigators who were very good were pushed out because they were very good at their job, and there were people who were uncomfortable about the excellence that resided here. The destruction of enforcement units that happened here, and the large business center and high-risk investigation units were dismantled. Units that were doing a great job for the nation, they were just destroyed and dismantled. The collapse of the morale of the skilled people here. And it must have felt horrible working here, knowing that someone has been brought in with a sledgehammer or a chainsaw to cut this organization into shreds. Your morale must have taken a real dip. And revenue failure, we started seeing our revenue going down, much as it was talked up all the time, and falsely so. And then there was external interference, and all of a sudden, I mean, all manner of people were now interested, putting their fingers into what SARS is doing and all that. Those were the tough and difficult times that you have gone through. Now, people often say there was a period, and they call it, it's not my term, they call it the Ramaphosa period. And then they say, nothing ever happened of it. I mean, if there is anything that we did when we came in, was to stop state capture. State capture we did by establishing the new Gent Commission. That was a deliberate and direct act of stopping state capture. And today SARS is revived, and SARS is what it was, even better than it was at the time. So that's Ramaphosa. And of course, during that period where people were in a hype, they just did not know the depth and the extent of state capture. In other state institutions, state capture had embedded itself so deeply that it took time, and in some ways continues to take time, to rid our country of state capture. That's why corruption continues to manifest its ways through the sinews that were planted at the time. But we will get rid of it. But when it comes to SARS, SARS we caught at the right time. And the state capture actors were now going for Treasury. They thought that they had finished with SARS, and their next move was to capture Treasury. And that too we stopped, because somehow they were quite clever, too clever by half, I would say. They were quite clever. They started with a whole lot of other entities, government departments, and of course they started capturing people. And they went for the apex, captured, and then started capturing a number of people, number of departments, number of entities were captured, and thereafter they came for SARS. And what then remained was Treasury. And if they had gotten their hands on Treasury, it was game up. It was finished with South Africa. So we were able to stop it in time. And the fact that we intervened at the right time and stopped the moves that had been initiated to capture SARS completely was one of the defining and decisive moments of our administration. And in the end, whatever people can say, I say the fact that we stopped state capture, we saved South Africa. We saved SARS, and we saved Treasury as well. Now, Commissioner, you have been involved in a phenomenal task of making sure that we recover, we rebuild SARS. 8 years later, the majority of the recommendations that were put forward by the Nugent Commission have been implemented. As the organization continues along its transformative journey to become a smart, modern SARS with unquestionable integrity that is trusted and admired. Now, people often say the president sets up all these commissions and the recommendations are never implemented. Now, I invite everyone in our country to see how, following the recommendations of the Nugent Commission, we have rebuilt SARS. And I invite people also to pay attention to how, even with the Zondo Commission, a majority of what Zondo actually prescribed, changing of laws, changing of processes and how we do things have been done. Of course, even the people who he said should be dealt with are now going through various court processes. And of course, as South Africans, we are at times a little bit blindsided. We don't see the progress that is being made. This country was on the precipice of complete disaster and collapse, and we were able to bring it back. And SARS is the best example of having done so. Having largely achieved a turnaround, SARS has positioned itself to be at the forefront of efficiency and service excellence. Now, one of my tasks is to improve the capability of the state. SARS is part of our state, and I can say without any shadow of doubt that we have done a great part in improving the capability of the state through making sure that the real central organization that keeps us all alive as South Africans has been rebuilt, and that talks to improving the capability of the state. It has set its horizons on broadening the tax base, improving voluntary compliance and fiscal citizenship. And I was asking the commissioner that you've got all these vans now, and I'm glad you moved from the big trucks that you were modeling and to smaller vans that can go anywhere. And I was saying, you want to send them to villages. He says, Mr. President, we want South Africans to be tax compliant. Even that small business person in the deep rural area in our country must become tax conscious and tax compliant. And this is the type of SARS that we want. If you go to many other countries, and I will not name those countries, you'll find that tax compliance is non-existent. And sometimes that is why their revenues are continuously going down. And with us, our revenues keep going up. And of course, our task, the Minister of Finance, is to capacitate SARS more and more, to give you more firepower, to give you more money so that you can do your work. So you also focus on your own organizational capacity by strengthening leadership and governance, and on scaling up your own modernization by leveraging people, data, and technology. And let me pause on this for a while. Let me start with the people. Commissioner, I was very pleased, and you were not telling me this for the first time when you came to see me at home. You were telling me how you have lived up to my new enemy now. My new enemy is outsourcing. What we have done in our state is to outsource nearly everything that should be done by government. And through that, we have weakened the capacity of the state. We outsource in a number of areas of our government work. We outsource almost everything, from cleaning, from people who should clean, from even doing the books and everything else that we can do internally, we outsource. I was therefore pleased when you said you found that there was like 750 people who had been outsourced and who were employed by a number of entities who were doing basic, important outsourcing, cleaning work, maintenance work, and all that. And you have transformed that. You have brought them in. And by bringing them in, you have given them dignity. They now have real jobs, and they can be trained. And some you have upscaled their training, and some you have made into artisans, proper artisans, who are no longer abused by contractors. Much as we say we must support small black business, we must. But things that we can do inside, we should. Things that they should do, we should give them the work. They must do that to great perfection for us. So there should be a good balance. And I'm glad, and I met some of them who said, yes, I was just an ordinary worker. I am now a customs official. What a great success. What a great success. So SARS has actually turned into an empowering institution. And you said very clearly that even those 750 who were outsourced should not lose jobs. And you repositioned them, and you gave them new skills, new hope, and now they are doing much more meaningful work as artisans, even as they continue looking after the facilities here, and some of them are now doing more important work. So I applaud you for that, because you are giving real substance to this war that I am waging. And outsourcing also wastes money, money that can be used in the organization to improve. Now, the other thing that I want to compliment you on is the use of technology. And you were the very first government department or entity that started using technology to good effect. And today, what you were demonstrating, which you still will demonstrate, I guess, is how you have utilized technology to good effect. And we talk about AI. I promise you we're talking about it. And everybody says, we want AI, we want AI. Then you ask them, what do you know about AI? I don't know. I don't know. But here at SARS, I now know what AI does. And so you are a trailblazer for us in government. And I often say, and you are demonstrating it very well, I often say, as government, we're slow movers, and I want us to move fast. And I wish we could just transform the whole of government to be SARS. Yeah, to be SARS. Because you are quick movers, you adapt quickly, and so on. In government, we are so slow. And we are even slower than our people. Our people, in terms of technology, in terms of utilizing digital usage, are far ahead than us in government. We are slow. Like a snail pace slow. And yet our people, and even the old people, sometimes I go to the villages, I find an old person with like a tablet or an iPhone. And then I ask one of them, do you get your pension every month? He says, no, I get it. See it here on this tablet. I say, what more do we want? And yet, at national level and provincial level, we are way, way, way behind. So you have been a trailblazer, and you have demonstrated to us as South Africa that we can embrace technology, we can utilize it. You are utilizing it to good effect. And you are putting everyone who is a taxpayer on data. And much better than that, you are actually getting people to interface with your system themselves, where we are able to use either our ID number, our tax number, to do e-filing ourselves, get our returns and so forth. Unheard of. In the past, you would be queuing outside the SARS office. So you have really demonstrated to us that we do and can belong to the future. Revenue collection has also is a challenging task, both domestically and globally. Slower economic growth and higher living costs are squeezing the tax base. And this is where your challenge is. Even though we are on track to achieve a third consecutive primary budget surplus, giving us more room, headroom for social spending and for investment, we continue to rely on SARS to support the delivery of the strategic priorities of the Government of National Unity. And we need to have the fiscal space to drive inclusive economic growth, which is our top priority, and to create jobs, and to reduce poverty, and to tackle the high costs of living, and to build a capable and ethical and developmental state. Now, we do not want to burden the future generations with debilitating debt. We therefore welcome the launch last year of what has been dubbed the Project Billions, a SARS initiative to recover an estimated, 300 billion? What did you say? Over 300 billion. You're very ambitious. You guys are very ambitious. And we need people with vision and ambition. So we continue to rely on you as SARS, on the ongoing fight against corruption and malfeasance in both the public and the private sectors. Now, through lifestyle audits, enforcement actions directed at the illicit economy, and other efforts, this organization is playing a critical role and a leading role for that matter. And I saw a demonstration of exactly what you do. And as I looked at all those items that are part of the illicit economy, there are so many, and it must be hard, but we need to give you all the support we need. In the past, I used to think that, it's tobacco. It's, things that come in illicitly. But it's much more than that, even toothbrushes. I mean, people even bring toothbrushes, and you and your officials have to be agile enough to look at it and say, but this should not be coming in without tax. Former Minister of Trade and Industry, Patel, used to tell me that there is also a lot of under-invoicing. People bring in goods and say, a whole suit like this. I won't tell you what the price of this suit is. A whole suit like this will be put at 200 rand. But this suit cannot cost 200 rand. But you'll never know the price, please. So ultimately, every rand collected by SARS advances the nation's development. And we are grateful that you are focusing even on those things. And of course, there's a lot of talk out there that, we're not taking action against illicit trade. But today, you've demonstrated to me that you're making all the efforts. Of course, we've got to strengthen the borders of our country. The Border Management Agency is doing the great work that it does. We need to give it more money. And I'm having dinner with Minister of Finance tonight, and I'm going to be squeezing his hand to make sure that some of these entities get more money. And this is a very special dinner. You could think that we are really going to be going hammer and tongs. So I pay for the dinner, and he gives the money for everything else. So an effective organization relies on dedicated and capable and motivated people. Now I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all of you hard-working men and women of the South African Revenue Service, here at the National Command Center and around the country, those that I saw on the screen. I want to thank you all for the efforts that you make to keep South Africa going. Without the work that you do, just know that South Africa would grind to a halt. So yours is not an easy task, and we as the nation thank you dearly. Without you, we would not be able to move South Africa forward. So thank you for all what you're doing, and don't applaud, I'm going to applaud. Now, as I end, thank you for doing what is one of the state's most difficult jobs, enforcing tax compliance, taking tough decisions with fairness, with integrity, with compassion, often under extremely difficult circumstances, even under serious and severe criticism. Your role is an invaluable one. You are keeping public services funded and our society functioning. For this, our nation thanks you. I also acknowledge all the men and women in the compliance and enforcement ecosystems who support SARS in their work. The Financial Intelligence Center, the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation, the Special Investigating Unit, and others. Cooperation with the private sector and other stakeholders is important, and it is also an integral part of the SARS ecosystem and effectiveness. So we acknowledge the role played by the financial institutions and the data providers such as the banks, insurers, and fund administrators. So I want to thank the South African taxpayer who diligently acts in fulfillment of their responsibility to contribute what they should and what they contribute to building a better country. I used to hear in the past where many people would be saying, we want to pay our taxes, where they would say, we want to be compliant taxpayers. I want to continue hearing that message amongst our people, because it is through the taxes that we pay that we are able to make South Africa move forward. Lastly, I wish to acknowledge and thank Commissioner Edward Kisvetter. He stood there and he was singing the national anthem, you know, right with his lungs out. And so I was listening to the Minister of Finance. You know, he was a little bit. And I said, do I match this commissioner? I couldn't match him. And he sang all the stanzas of the anthem in all the languages flawlessly. You sometimes get these people who will sing Nkosi Sikelel' Morena Boloka. When it comes to the Afrikaans part, they mumble. And then they come to the English, then they go up. He was even right through. So, Commissioner, I really want to thank you for your stewardship. You've done a great job, and you won't believe what you've done to reposition our country by saving SARS. Your leadership has truly been vital to restoring the credibility and the integrity of this critical South African institution. So you're leaving an organization that is much more cohesive, that's more efficient, that's capable, and that is trusted than when you took office. The real measure of your contribution is not how much revenue SARS collected during your tenure, but by how well prepared it is for the future, for a challenging future. The country is deeply grateful for your outstanding contribution, and we will forever be grateful to you. This has been an immensely important period that you have made a great contribution to the country. So I really am grateful that you were able to invite me to come. We sat with the commissioner and he was taking me through all the slides at home and all that. And I said, no, but I'd like to come. I'd like to come so that I can see whether you're telling me the truth or not. So today I've seen the truth. The visit is truly insightful. So I leave here confident that SARS will continue to reach the milestone after milestone in its ongoing quest to be the best revenue service with its cutting-edge innovation and agility. A revenue service that South Africa really deserves, and a revenue service that the people of South Africa are proud of. And you know, in the past, whenever you would get a call from SARS, you would just be terrified. What do they want? And today, I think when you get a call from SARS, you do it knowing that you are dealing with with an organization that has integrity, where you are not going to be targeted and dealt with unfairly. And that is the SARS that we have today. And Commissioner, it's all due to you. Thank you so much. And to all of you who work here, thank you.